It's like our country's being run by the maniac from Saw.
Jimmy Kimmel ruthlessly tears into Donald Trump for slashing $340 million in foreign aid, worsening starvation in conflict zones like Gaza.
One of the big questions, besides, are you out of your damn mind, is if you pull all the Palestinians out of Palestine, who would then live there?
Trump's reckless policies and complete lack of morality are a direct threat to America. Meanwhile, Trump, instead of reflecting, is probably rage-eating a burnt steak, oblivious as ever.
I envision a world, people living there, the world's people.
The world's people. Maybe the village people, I don't know.
With over 2 million viewers tuning in every night, Kimmel is the king of late night, and guess what? His favorite punching bag is back at it again. Donald J. Trump, the man who turns every disaster into a self-promotional press tour. This time, he's outdoing himself with his latest stroke of genius, proposing to turn the Gaza Strip into a real estate venture.
Every idea is worse than the last idea. He seems to believe that the reason there's conflict in Gaza is because no one thought to give them a pickleball court. Everything, no matter what the crisis may be, everything always comes back to real estate with him.
You heard that right. While most people see a humanitarian crisis, Trump sees beachfront property. If this sounds like the plot of a bad horror movie, that's because it is. And Kimmel? He wasted no time comparing Trump to the villain from the Saw movies, except with worse hair and a bigger ego.
The UK have all forcefully rejected it. The only thing the United Nations and the Taliban have in common is they both think this is a terrible idea. But Trump said he spoke to the leaders and everybody loves it.
The backlash? It was immediate. Political leaders, human rights groups, and pretty much anyone with a functioning brain condemned the idea. But Trump, in his usual stable genius way, insists that it's a fantastic business opportunity. Because nothing says leadership like looking at a war-torn region and thinking, you know what this place needs? A Trump Tower.
Human squirrel Mike Johnson said Trump's little project in Gaza is, quote, a bold move, and Majority Whip Tom Emmer used it to make the claim that Democrats are anti-Semitic.
But wait, because this walking disaster isn't just messing with international affairs. Back on home soil, he's been playing his favorite game, holding disaster relief hostage. Wildfires are tearing through California, homes are burning, and what's Trump's response? No aid unless you change your water policy.
In fairness, he's only anti-Semitic when he's drunk. But here's the thing. Everyone around Trump knows this stupid idea just popped out of his head.
That's right, because when your house is on fire, the first thing you should be worrying about is whether you're following Trump's environmental guidelines. This is the same guy who once suggested raking forests to prevent wildfires, by the way. So, it's safe to say his scientific expertise is right up there with his literacy skills.
That ridge, that is Bel Air, and over the past 24 hours, it has felt that so many fires erupted at almost the same time.
Kimmel laid into this disaster of a policy, pointing out that Trump's solution to every problem is to make it about himself. Need help? Sorry, first you gotta kiss the ring. And California isn't the only one getting the Trump treatment. He also floated the idea of shutting down FEMA, because who needs emergency management when you have a guy who throws paper towels at hurricane victims?
Something to be done about a lot of different things going on in the country. I mean, our country is in a free fall, and these are good American people.
Even Republicans who live in states constantly getting wrecked by tornadoes and floods were panicking. You know you've gone too far when your own party starts sweating harder than Trump in a courtroom. And speaking of fairness, let's talk numbers. Republican-leaning states make up 42.7% of the US population, but somehow, they managed to snag 56.6% of federal disaster declarations and 50% of FEMA's budget.
Big show of it. He brought in a bunch of kids, a bunch of girls who play sports to bear witness as he signed this important historical document.
Pretty good, huh? Nicely done.
But California, a blue state, gets put on timeout like a misbehaving toddler. The numbers don't lie, and Kimmel was more than happy to point out the hypocrisy. It's like Trump's own personal game of Wheel of Misfortune, Except instead of losing a turn, entire communities lose their homes.
I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad. This could be so magnificent.
But if you thought Trump was done pulling stunts that would make a Bond villain jealous, think again. Back to his Gaza real estate scheme, because this one is so ridiculous it deserves another round of mockery. The plan? Boot nearly 2 million people out of their homes to make way for a luxurious Trump Riviera. That's right, while families are literally fighting to survive, Trump is out here playing Monopoly with real people's lives. Even world leaders who usually ignore his nonsense had to speak up on this one. The man just doesn't know when to quit.
I can see the brochures now. The Riviera of the Middle East. Trump didn't even have success with the Atlantic City of New Jersey, never mind the Riviera of the Middle East.
Kimmel didn't hold back, comparing Trump's plan to a horror movie plot. Because let's be real, if a character in a film suggested turning a war zone into a luxury resort, we'd all be yelling at the screen, "No one's that evil." But Trump, he hears that and says, "Great idea, let's slap my name on it." The backlash was massive, and for once, it wasn't just Democrats rolling their eyes. Republicans, global leaders, human rights organizations, everyone was united in telling Trump to shut up. But does he listen? Of course not. Because listening requires self-awareness, and we all know that's not in his skill set. The consequences were immediate. Freezing $340 million worth of food supplies is a death sentence for thousands. While other world leaders were trying to figure out how to stop mass starvation, Trump was probably on the golf course, bragging about how much money he saved.
He even put it all in an...
Donald J. Trump, give me your money. Thank you.
Kimmel didn't hold back, mocking the sheer cruelty of it. Imagine looking at a region already drowning in war, famine, and disease, and saying, "Nah, let's make this worse." That's peak Trump logic. When in doubt, escalate the suffering. At this point, even Mitch McConnell had enough. And when Mitch McConnell, aka the political crypt keeper, starts throwing shade at Trump, you know things are bad. Turns out, behind closed doors, Mitch has been roasting Trump harder than a well-done Trump steak.
Has wielded power in a way that is more destructive to the American people or more shameful than Mitch McConnell.
40 years later, that I would stand before you as the longest-serving Senate leader in American history.
He called out Trump's endless lies, his complete disregard for facts, and his disastrous leadership, which is rich, coming from a guy who spent years enabling him. But hey, it's like watching a mad scientist suddenly realize his monster is out of control. Too little, too late, buddy.
No individual has done more damage to the Senate than Mitch McConnell. No single individual has inflicted more harm.
I have the honor of representing Kentucky in the Senate longer than anyone else in our state's history.
And then there's Liz Cheney and Kamala Harris, two people who normally wouldn't be caught dead in the same room, suddenly finding themselves on the same anti-Trump crusade. Cheney, the daughter of Darth Vader himself, Dick Cheney, teaming up with the Democratic VP.
From Donald Trump, in this case specifically legal counsel, there's an expectation that you are also protecting somebody else.
That's like if Batman and the Joker decided to take on a bigger villain. But that's the power of Trump, uniting people who have absolutely nothing in common except their mutual disgust for him. Kimmel had a blast with this one, joking that at this rate, even Melania might join the rebellion.
We see happening today is a sort of a sleepwalking into a dictatorship in the United States. And a dissident who spent years in the Soviet gulag have all told me it was the miracle of America.
And let's not forget the full-blown identity crisis happening in the GOP. It's a circus, and Trump is the unhinged ringmaster. One side is still pledging their undying loyalty to the guy who led them into an insurrection, while the other side is desperately trying to reclaim whatever dignity they had left. It's like a political Thanksgiving dinner. Half the family wants to pretend everything's fine, while the other half is ready to start flipping tables. Kimmel couldn't get enough of the chaos, comparing it to a soap opera where everyone has amnesia and keeps switching sides.
I ended up moving down to Atlanta for several months.
They didn't even think it was safe for you to stay in D.C.
So, how did Trump react to getting roasted on national TV? Predictably, he ranted, he whined, and he probably tried to tweet something before remembering he's banned. Maybe he sent one of his little Truth Social posts, where he screams in all caps about fake news and radical left hosts. Or maybe he just rage ate a well-done steak while watching reruns of The Apprentice, whispering to himself, "Ratings were better back then." Well, that's all for today, guys. If you enjoyed watching Trump get roasted harder than his overcooked steaks, make sure to hit that subscribe button.